Hello and welcome to the Ice Guys. This is the show that takes you into the world of the National Hockey League. Every game, every day, from a betting perspective. With pro sports handicappers Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith, and various guests from the world of hockey and sports betting. And now, here's your host, Ian Cameron.
Welcome to the Ice Guys, Friday, November 7th. Ian Cameron, Alex B. Smith with you, ready to break down the Friday NHL card. We got 4 games on tap for this Friday night. We will be breaking those down with you in just a moment. We got Matt Robinson joining us in just a few as well, here as he always does on Fridays. Looking forward to that. We'll recap, of course, Thursday night, a good Thursday night results-wise, actually. It was, it was kind of a win some, lose some start to the night, but it really ended quite well with the results we saw later in the night in NHL action, and overall a profitable night. We had a couple of underdogs come through for us last night as well, which was great to see. So solid results, a best bet sweep for me and Alex. We did a rare dual best bet on the show yesterday, the same best bet, which was Lightning and Golden Knights first period over. Very good to hit that. Unfortunately, they're not playing each other again the rest of this season, so it's something you're going to have to file in your memory bank for next year. But now it's 10-1 to the first period over between Tampa Bay and Vegas in the last 11 meetings after last night. So just something to remember for next year when you see Tampa Bay and Vegas meet up once again. St. Louis, Braden Shen called the team out, saying we need to give better to this fan base, this ownership group, this city. And it was definitely a staunch effort from them, particularly defensively. And we certainly saw it last night. Joel Hofer was solid, but I think they made life easier on him with just some very good team structure last night, and a nice 3-0 shutout for the St. Louis Blues over the Buffalo Sabres last night in that game. Just a very solid, good, strong, focused, dialed-in, workmanlike road effort, especially diligent defensively, which has not been the case for the St. Louis Blues of late, but a nice win for them, 3-0. Boston gets a 3-2 win in overtime against the Ottawa Senators. It's frustrating to strike out on the over by Fekta in this game, but great to cash the draw. And we did have a few draw winners last night in the NHL. This was one of them. Boston with the 3-2 win. It was Ottawa scoring in the third period, courtesy of Claude Giroux to force overtime. But Pavel Zacha beating the clock, dying seconds of overtime to give Boston the 3-2 win there over the Ottawa Senators. Don't look now. Boston's won 5 in a row, above 500. So the Bruins, don't tell them they're supposed to be one of the worst teams in the Eastern Conference. They are certainly in a nice little run right now. Now, again, let's re-examine where they are in February and March before we get crazy and go too crazy about this. But like I said, right now there's some things to like about Boston's game. They persevered, and a nice win for them last night against Ottawa there. Carolina, a crazy first period. It was a power play fest, a power play goal fest in the first period. 3-2 Carolina after 1, and they end up winning 4-3 over the Minnesota Wild. Minnesota, I thought they outplayed Carolina for parts of that game, and especially in the third period, but they could not find the equalizer last night against the Hurricanes, who hang on for a 4-3 win there. The New Jersey Devils, it looked like they were going to go down to defeat for the first time at home this year, trailing Montreal 3-2, but a late Timo Meier goal with the game last minute of the third with the extra attacker to tie it 3-3, and then a turnover in the neutral zone leads to a game-winning breakaway backhand goal from Jesper Bratt for a 4-3 New Jersey overtime win. So it was a good news, bad news game. Montreal money line falls short. Did have it split though with the team total over 2.5 on Montreal though, which did hit, and another draw, which was great to see. Habs and Devils draw. Montreal's just been a draw magnet of late, and yet another game for them goes past regulation. And this was a game post-game where one of 2 examples last night of players just beating themselves up in the post-game for things that went wrong. And Jakub Dobis just near tears at the end saying, I just got to be better than that. I cost us the game, and all kinds of, it's just way too rough. I mean, I know it's tough when you're up by a goal late in the third and you give up the tying goal. And first of all, Meier roofed that thing right under the crossbar at the end of the third period to tie it. And then what are you going to do? It's a turnover. You blame your players in front of you. A turnover in the neutral zone. And yeah, do you want to close the 5 hole there on Bratt? Sure. But I think he's just too rough on himself. This is a guy that hadn't lost a game as a starting goalie this year. That's just given himself too much criticism in the post game last night. But New Jersey, a 4-3 win. They remain undefeated at home. So a nice comeback win there for the Devils. Pittsburgh, this was one of the better Caps-Pens games. I'll be honest. I've gotten bored stiff and sick and tired of Ovechkin, Crosby, and Caps-Penguins over the years. No question about that. However, I will say that was one of the better Caps-Penguins games I've seen in some time. Last night. It was a very entertaining hockey game. Pittsburgh jumps on Washington early, which we kind of expected, right? The 900th goal from Ovechkin the night before, the 5-1 win against St. Louis, and they were kind of ripe for a slow, sluggish start, and that's exactly what we saw. Pittsburgh got out to the 2-0 lead, and they end up Washington battled back down 3-0 to tie it, but Pittsburgh with the 2 goals in the third for a 5-3 win. Crosby sensational once again for the Penguins in that game last night. So a nice 5-3 win for Pittsburgh. We had the first period on Pittsburgh. I think Alex had first goal, first period on Pittsburgh.
Yep.
Well, it was nice and easy to cash that. So 5-3, that was a pretty good result there. This was certainly a good result. And sorry to our guy, Matty Robb, who's going to join us in a moment. The Anaheim Ducks as a plus 160 underdog. This really helped pull me through to the profitable night overall last night. We just said that price, you got to take it with Anaheim with the way they're playing. Now, look, they are a fun team to watch. They are a high-flying offensive bunch right now. Their power play is lethal. I think if you ask Coach Q, they're still getting into a couple of times a few too many track meet style kind of games. There's been a couple of these now, but they've been on the winning end of these more often than not. You think back to the Boston game where it was, I think, the same score, 7-5. And then last night against Dallas, same thing. Now, do you want to tighten up a little bit defensively? Sure, but you also don't want to handcuff the obvious offensive talent you have littered throughout this lineup right now. And we are seeing it on full display. Cutter Gauthier, terrific again. Troy Terry, Mason McTavish, Leo Carlson gets a huge goal for them. Terry's shorthanded goal was kind of a backbreaker last night for the Dallas Stars. Dallas team that did get Roope Hintz back in the lineup. So that's, slowly trying to get some centers back and some of these injured forwards back. But Anaheim with the 7-5 win. Not Jake Ottinger's best game. 2, if not 3 goals, but when he's on his game, he does not allow those goals to go by him. But I think, euphoria of becoming a dad, it's been a crazy week personally for him, obviously.
Yeah.
And obviously maybe that took a toll on his focus and his mentality just a little bit going into that game. But a lot of it was just this great Anaheim skill. And like I said, 7-5. And how good has Chris Kreider been for the Ducks? My goodness.
Yep.
2 goals last night. This power play, why is it so good? Because Kreider is just the absolute expert at just going to the net, causing havoc, taking the goalie's eyes away, the tip-ins, the deflections, the great hand-eye coordination right in front of the net. He is just a perfect fit, Alex, to me, it looks like, for this Anaheim team. And the power play has been great. And Kreider's been a power play dynamo going back to his time with the New York Rangers. Most of his goals there were power play goals. And he's bringing that power play prowess with him here to Anaheim. But very impressive stuff, Alex, from the Ducks last night.
This team is so much fun to watch, and it's always fun, too, like I said, when we preview a team and we give our notes and our opinions, but to see things coming to light so early. Joe Quenneville is the perfect coach for this team for that reason. Like you said, yeah, they have these track meets 7-5, but the rule with Q is you better damn well win those games because, like I said, we need to be more responsible defensively. And I'm sure he drilled that into him after it. Hey, that's a great game. That's a great win. Good 2 points against a quality team. But we got to play a little bit tighter moving down the road. And it's okay to have those track meets in October, November, December. But once you cross over into that new year, that second half of the season, he's going to certainly expect more from the defensive end.
Yeah, no question. Like I said, I still think they're better defensively now than last year, but there's still even greater room for improvement there for sure for this Anaheim team. But a great win there, 7-5 over Dallas. Another underdog that cashed for me, Philadelphia. 3-1 win against the Nashville Predators last night. Again, offense hard to come by for the Nashville Predators last night, only mustering 24 shots on goal. It's funny that the only guy that scored a goal last night for the Nashville Predators was the guy that I've never seen anything so sad and just kind of depressing in a long time as far as a player's comments in a post game after a loss is what I saw from Ryan O'Reilly last night for the Nashville Predators. He actually got their only goal, but you could see just how losing and just the season and a bit into this season where it's just been brutal for Nashville. It's taken its toll on everybody, including O'Reilly. I mean, he's saying stuff like, I played pathetic. I'm supposed to be the top line center. I'm giving the puck away. I'm turning it over. I'm playing pathetic. I've had one good year in my career, and I'm living off that. I mean, it's just it's really just wow. I hope there's someone. I hope the teammates are there to tell him and support him and say, "Hey, man, this is a team game. It's not on you, man. Yeah, you're a guy that won a Conn Smythe Trophy back in the day. You're a guy that's been a premier defensive center, two-way center in this league for a very long time. Yeah, I've even said it on the show. We know he's in decline. We know that. But to just reprimand yourself and single yourself out and then say, oh, my career's only been made off one good year. I mean, it was just unbelievably troubling comments from Ryan O'Reilly, because you could tell we all have crisis in confidence in life. I have crisis in confidence when I'm on a bad losing streak in the betting world, of course. And I start to say, man, I suck. Man, I'm not doing well. But it can be difficult sometimes when you're really struggling and you really can't get out of a funk to avoid those negative thoughts. But to see Ryan O'Reilly speak like that after last night, I hope he's getting someone that, he can lean on there within the team, family, obviously, when he goes back home. But that was hard to watch, actually, Ryan O'Reilly comment that way after the game about his own game and his career, saying, I've had one good year. That's it. I mean, which is not true. That's a bunch of nonsense. No. He's just way too hard on himself. And for him to say he's, the reason why they're struggling, no, it's a roster problem with the Nashville Predators. This is a slower team. This is a team that doesn't have depth up, of scoring in their lineup. It's a team that's without Roman Josi on the back end, which is a huge gaping hole that they don't have the personnel right now to fill. And it's a roster issue. It's a personnel issue. It's not a Ryan O'Reilly issue. It's everybody that's associated right now with the Preds.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you look at the tale of the kind of two stories you saw last night, we talked about Jakub Dobeš with Montreal and how he responded. And that, I think that was a little bit different. He was just frustrated with himself, felt like he could play better. I don't think that was, that's just the goalie just kind of letting out his emotions for the moment. But with O'Reilly, what he was saying and the look on his face, like I said, it was a lot more concerning. And like I said, that comment really stuck with me, with him saying I only had one good career. That's so not true, and that, like I said, that's worrisome, And I get, like I said, being hard on yourself, and when a team's slumping, everybody's kind of in a malaise. But hearing something like that, when we know that's not true, and I'm sure even deep down he knows that's not true. Like I said, I hope that's not a sign of something deeper or anything else. And, we have to take mental health seriously, especially with the week that we've had, especially, losing a player in the NFL.
Yes.
It's just
Marchand
sad.
Neal, terrible.
Yeah. So these things are so important, and the leagues have done such a good job in making sure there is a platform and a space if guys are having mental health issues or different things. So, I hope it's not that far. I hope it's just he's frustrated with how things are going on the ice, and it's nothing deeper. But that was quite concerning, and like I said, I just hope it's more surface with O'Reilly than not.
Yeah, social media being a part of pro athlete lives right now is a big part of it. You can't escape it. When you're struggling and your team's struggling, you're going to see it in DMs. You're going to see it in comments to anything you post on there. You suck, get traded, get out of here. We don't want you anymore. And I'm seeing even crazier shit like, go kill yourself and all. Like, it's just unbelievable how some people act. Like, you could be frustrated with your team and with players on your own team. I would and I scream and yell about players and teams on this show. I'd never in a million years go into their DMs and send them a personal message saying, you suck, get off my team, and you should just die. And I've seen stuff like that from people. Like, they have no fucking brain or heart or compassion at all in their soul to realize what they're doing is wrong. What they're saying is wrong.
There's a line to that. And I'm a big shit talker. Okay? Anyone who knows me, anybody who's watched the show, I talk shit all fucking day long. But there's a line. And you can't cross that line when you start getting personal with players and DMing players. Like, I've always thought that was insane. it's one thing now if a player tags you in something and you tweeted something out and you get retweeted, then that's a whole different story. But and at the same time, athletes, yes, social media is 20 years old, but players have been hearing shit and dealing with things and people saying things to them for years. That is just a caveat of the job. And so you have to also be able to navigate that as well. But there's certainly a line, and you definitely see people and fans cross that line more often than not on social media.
Yeah, no question about that. All right, the last couple games, as we mentioned, first period over, best bet for both me and Alex on the show yesterday with Tampa Vegas cashes. That was great to see. 2-0 Vegas after the first, close shave. Barbashev getting their 2 goals, but what a comeback by Tampa. They really started to take over the last 2 periods. They were horrible in the first period. They barely mustered any shots on goal in the first period, and to go from that to turning the game right around and winning 6-3, give the Tampa Bay Lightning a ton of credit last night. Not a great performance from Lindbaum and net for the Vegas Golden Knights, but there were a lot of breakdowns in front of them too. And you got to give Tampa credit when Kucherov and Point and Hagel start ripping that puck around like they did on a couple of those goals. It can be tough to defend them. So Tampa Bay with a nice 6-3 win. And I loved my foray into the first period market last night with the Florida Panthers. Nice, quick, and easy. First goal, first period was plus 135 at FanDuel with Florida. That cashed 1-0. I was a little bit leery of them winning the hockey game. And look, LA came back in the first period, took the lead, but Florida really controlled things from there, grabbed a 3-2 lead and did not look back, and ended up with a 5-2 victory over the Florida Panthers. A bargain bin special of the night winner for Alex B. Smith with Brad Marchand over 1.5 points, plus 400. So another night where we have at least one bargain bin special cashing in, which is great to see. I think that's it. That is it for last night. But a busy Thursday night, profitable Thursday night. We'll take it. Alex, is there anything you wanted to add about last night?
No, like I said, the Marchand, those were nice to cash those. It was funny because I took a shot. They said we got that first goal in the first period, and I actually took a small shot with 1-0 correct score. And I was watching other things and going back and forth. When I look back and I see it's 2-2 at the end of the first, and I go, damn it. But then I look, okay, Marchand had a goal. So I'm like, no worry. It did have him anytime goal scorer, and of course needed that second point. And then it was getting a little dicey in that second period. He wasn't really getting that much ice time. And then all of a sudden he creates his own turnover and scores on that breakaway for the 5-2 goal. So that's really nice to see. And it's kind of funny. I've had these point props and single goal props, and then we've got guys scoring 2 and 3 goals the last couple of nights. So I have to just stick with the point props as long as they keep on cashing those plus prices.
No doubt about it. All right, Matt Robinson with us. Remember, he's with us Tuesdays and Fridays this season, not Thursdays, Fridays for his second day of the week with us on the show. But Matt, how was last night? Was profitable last night? It was a up and down kind of night. The late night pulled me through to profit. How did last night, Thursday's action, go for you?
Yeah, similar night for me. Had a couple wins in the early slate, but also like my 3 premium plays yesterday, I had the over in the Blues Sabres game, which obviously was a miss, but then I did have Stars Ducks.
I had already bet it. And I know you had already liked it, and then I started to hear Shen talking about we got to bear down, and I started to think, watch them try to clamp down tomorrow night in Buffalo, and sure enough, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, it on paper it had all signs pointing to I would have taken over 7.5 maybe. Like I thought it was going to be it
was 9-1 to the over in the 10 meetings between them going into last night. Yep.
Yeah, and I think only 2 of those 9 stopped at 6. The rest were 7, 8, 9, 10 goals. So that one was disappointing, but I did get to the over with New Jersey, Montreal. Obviously, Dallas and Anaheim was to me a great spot. Anaheim has been on a heater. They've had 3 goals or more in like 9 of their last 11 games or 10 of their last 11 games. But I heard you guys talking a little bit earlier. They are playing a little loosey-goosey. I mean, they had that nice 7-3 win over Florida on Tuesday night, but they're still giving up 3 goals. So it felt like a spot where Dallas might have an opportunity to kind of get going. And I mean, their power play started out 3 for 3. So that one was obviously a very entertaining game. Dallas lost, so that's a bummer. But as far as betting goes, it was a great night for me. A great game for me, as I had both team totals and the full game over at 6. So not really a sweat much in that one. I think midway through the second, we're already locked up. So and then as far as the late slate goes, I did have a pretty heavy bet. I think my heaviest bet of the night was on Vegas, Tampa first period over. So I was glad to see Vegas get off to a 2-0 lead. That's about when I went to bed, but I woke up happy because I did have I had a laddered first period, 1.5, 2, and 2.5 in that Florida LA game, which obviously all three of those hit with a 2-2 first period. And then I had over at 5.5. And it honestly, so Tuesday, I was looking at the card and I was like, I think it was Philly, Montreal was over 5.5. And I was like, I could see it being a lower and slow game with them. Of course, it wasn't. It was 4-3 after 2 periods, got to 5-4, I think, with a shootout win going to Philly. But so it was sort of one of those games with Florida and LA where I felt, a 5.5 seemed right and like it might go under. So I kind of went with my gut on when I feel that way, just go ahead and hit the over because that'll be the one game that flies over the total. So, it only got to 7, but the over at puck drop was 5.5. So first period was a little heavier and then had the over 5.5. So that came to go at the end of the night as well. So a little bit of up and down in the 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock slots, and then a good little late finish to end up in the green overall. But overall, a lot of good games. Obviously, anyone that follows the show knows in general the show is a little bit of an over show, but me specifically, it's usually over or bust. So, nights when you've got 5-3, 4-3, 7-5, 6-3, 5-2, it's usually a pretty good night betting wise for me. So hoping to continue that momentum into the short card tonight, and then obviously a big 13-game slate Saturday. So that there'll be a lot of action going on Saturday with college football, 13 NHL games, NBA, college basketball. There's some good games. So looking forward to a good weekend.
Yeah, we're at that time of year, November, December. It's just insane, especially for people that are capping like me, of course, multiple sports. So it's just that time of year, hectic as can be. Lots going on, but always good though. It's lots of work, but it's lots to watch and lots to bet, and that's always the good thing, even though if it leads to late nights and not much sleep. All right, let's get into Friday. We got 4 games. We'll begin with the New York Rangers and Detroit Red Wings. Detroit minus 125, home favorites, 5.5 the total here with the Rangers and the Red Wings. It's 5.5 in some spots, 6 in others is what I should say. So shop around. I know it's 5.5 with juice at DraftKings, FanDuel. Those 2 books, again, 6 at others. So shop around. Now, last year in this situation, I'd be hammering over by Fecta. I'd be hammering it. We've got the Rangers off a shutout loss. We've got the Detroit Red Wings off a shutout loss. Both teams blanked in their last game. Rangers shut out by Carolina at home 3-0. Detroit shut out shut out on the road by Vegas 1-0 in their last game. And last year, the angle of off a shutout loss, first period over, full game over, was strong. I can't say the same thing about this year. It's kind of gone away. It's kind of gone downhill, this over by Fecta situation. That being said, I'm going to dabble in it tonight with this Rangers and Red Wings game a little bit, just a little bit. The one thing I'll say about the Rangers, they can't win at home, haven't been able to win at home, haven't been able to score at home consistently. But the Rangers on the road, they scored 3 against Seattle, 4 against Edmonton. They scored 4 in a road game against Montreal. Now, they did have a couple road games where they scored just 1 against Toronto, 2 against Vancouver. So they've had a couple games where they haven't scored on that. But at least on the road, they've had a few games where they've been able to find the back of the net a little bit. Like I said, we'll see. I think the reason why I think I'm going to dabble in the over by Fecta, I'm not going to tell you I love it because I don't. This is just something I'm going to dabble in small because I'm a little hesitant and leery, and I've got tons of trepidation about it. But with Detroit getting blanked 1-0, Rangers getting blanked 3-0, you got to think both teams are going to look to push a little bit more to try to be more aggressive and get the offense going. The Rangers, I'm sure, are sick of hearing about the narrative about their offensive woes. Detroit's coming off, a shutout loss to Vegas there. Let's keep in mind, too, Detroit at home. We've seen some overs. We've seen some games where they've been able to score 4-6 goals on home ice. Not to mention we have Jonathan Quick. And I know Jonathan Quick's been very good in his brief action this year for the New York Rangers. He's going to be in net tonight for them. And he's been really good. Look at the way he played the last time he was in net for the New York Rangers. And his overall numbers, 1.35 goals against, .941 save percentage, had a shutout against Vancouver in his last start. He's capable Still, in my opinion, not quite what Igor Shesterkin gives you. Cam Talbot will get the start for Detroit. 5-1 record, 2.76 goals against average, 897 save percentage for Cam Talbot entering this one. So I'm going to dabble in over by Fecta. Sidewise, it's tough. I mean, if you're going to back the Rangers at all at this point, the road is where to back them. They do have a very good road record, 6-1-1. Can't win to save their lives at home, but they are 6-1-1 on the road, and they have owned this series, 6 straight wins for the New York Rangers over the Detroit Red Wings as well. But Detroit, solid at home, looking to bounce back from the Vegas loss, and a big piece to the lineup return. Showtime, Patrick Kane returning for the Detroit Red Wings tonight. He's missed, I believe, the last 9 games, been out for a decent amount of time. He will be back tonight for the Detroit Red Wings. And as far as me with the over by Fecta in this game, that certainly helps that, as Patrick Kane certainly gives the power play a little bit more punch, gives the top 6 forward group a little bit more punch. So over by Fecta, lean draw, but I'm staying off sides in this one. Alex, what do you think here? Rangers, Red Wings.
Yeah, I already bet the draw. Actually, I got a piece last night. I got plus 350. It's down to 340. Still a viable bet. But now that Patrick Kane is back, I will take a small piece of him anytime goal, plus 250, and also will take him to score the overtime game winner, because that's usually what he does when he's on his game. 80-1 is the price for that. So draw, Kane anytime goal, Kane overtime goal.
There you go. Kane anytime goal and the Kane overtime goal. Kane Detroit to win the game, and Patrick Kane to get the game winner in overtime, and good price on that as well. Matt, what do you think here? Rangers, Red Wings.
Yeah, I'm pretty aligned. 2 teams coming off a shutout. This would scream over. It sort of gives me the feeling of the LA Florida game, given the over 5.5, that it's like worth taking a shot here. I think if this game was played at Madison Square Garden, I'd have a different viewpoint and probably stay off it entirely, because the Rangers, outside of that San Jose game, just can't seem to figure it out at home. But, I think both teams will be looking to get a jump going early. So I think over 1.5 on the first is a great look, maybe even at both teams to score. But I'll stick to just the over by Fecta of the first period and full game separately. It's not there's no need to parlay it, given that it's 5.5. On the off chance we get 1-0 after the first, and then we get to 6 in the end, at least you split the bets. But I think this one it has all the potential to have 2 or 3 in the first, and then have no problem getting to 6. So that'll be me on this one. You can make a case for either side. I just think I don't think the value is there enough to take the Rangers on the road. I think Detroit, you could take a shot with them, but I would maybe look at a team total if you feel good about Detroit, on the off chance, this ends up 4-3 overtime. At least they get to that 3-goal mark. So, but for me, just over by Fecta here. I'll keep it simple.
Yeah, not much for me. I don't argue with what Alex is thinking with Kane, as far as getting on the board. We've got obviously all the players that were on goal streaks and point streaks. It ended last game for both teams because both teams were shut out. So all the streaks came to an end. I'd maybe look at Andrew Kopp. I just got that feeling for him with Detroit. He used to be with the Rangers. That was only half a season with the New York Rangers. He got dealt from Winnipeg that year. But Andrew Kopp, former player angle there, is involved. And Will Cooley actually has scored multiple times in the past against Detroit. So maybe Will Cooley for the New York Rangers might be someone I dabble with for player prop tonight. All right, Minnesota Wild, New York Islanders. Islanders minus 150, home favorite, 6.5 the total. I mentioned leaning to the draw in the last game. I'm on the draw in this game with the Minnesota Wild and the New York Islanders. If you look at the Wild, now it is a back-to-back for them after the 4-3 loss in Carolina last night. But I thought it was a pretty solid effort. I thought they were pretty much, matched Carolina toe-to-toe, pretty even game. Certainly had a chance to win that game, but fell short 4-3. They'll be looking, obviously, to bounce back here tonight. The Islanders will be looking to bounce back as well. They lost 4-3 in a shootout in their last game to the Boston Bruins. This is also one where I'm going to wait for in-game overs in this game. Don't love 6.5 with juice. And I know we've talked about the New York Islanders being one of the surprise strongest over teams in the NHL this year, still 10-3 to the over this season, the New York Islanders. But I feel like we could get maybe a little bit of a cautious start here in this game. between the Islanders and the Wild. And I could see it being a slower start after that frenetic first period that the Minnesota Wild had last night against the Carolina Hurricanes. So keep that in mind. Not to mention that 4-3 Boston win in a shootout against the Islanders the other night. There were no goals in the first period, and then the floodgates opened, second period and beyond in that game. So this kind of feels to me like I'm going to be able to get 6 or 5.5 live with the over here in this game. So that's going to be the approach. We'll be live betting 6, and we'll live bet even more 5.5 if it shows up. Lean over pregame, but like I said, I'm going to take my chances to wait for something live here, and I'm on the draw pregame. Alex, what do you think here? Wild Islanders.
Yeah, that's the only thing I like here is the draw. I got plus 350. I was trying to load up Caesars and maybe see this could be a game that qualifies for that game to go to the shootout, and that's something I'm going to maybe start to look to sprinkle really smaller, like a fraction of a unit, essentially smaller than even the overtime goal prop. But they're teams where, like I said, if you feel like they might want to try and clamp down defensively, and there's certain spots, I can just see where this may be a game that just kind of goes low and slow. And even though with the Wild, like I said, they've needed to try to clamp down more on defense and on the back end, and with Wallstead and net, I feel like they try to play a little bit almost too tight to the point where it can almost suffocate their offense. So draw plus 350, but I might sprinkle on game to go deeper than overtime and into the shootout.
All right, Matt, what do you like in here? Minnesota, New York Islanders.
It's interesting. I actually kind of liked a same game parlay look with this one. But I kind of agree with you, Ian, after, listening to your analysis of this game. And I do think it might be a low and slow start. So I think I'm going to take a similar shot or a similar look and just look live for this one. Maybe turn it on, watch the first few minutes, see if we can get a 5.5. And if there is some pace and it looks similar to Minnesota, Carolina last night, then maybe I'll jump in at over 1.5 when we get, minus 110, even money, maybe even plus money. So, I think it's a pass game for me pregame, but it is a game I'm interested in. And I do think we'll see goals in this game. Like, I think we have no problem in this game getting to 6. So it may just be worth, waiting a few minutes and getting a 5.5 at, minus 110 or something like that. And then, putting out a bet to hope to get to 6. So it could be wrong. It could be, a similar start, but I think this is a good game to tune into, kind of see the first couple shifts and then assess if it's, and it may be a very slow, trappy type start. And then, maybe I just stay off the first period altogether. Hopefully we get into the locker room 0-0, and then you can jump on, maybe even a 4.5, we can kind of see. So, I think this is one I'll just tune into. The Islanders, we mentioned it. They're kind of an exciting team to watch nowadays, which has been a big change. So, maybe just throw this one on. I think it's a 7 o'clock puck drop. So throw this on at 4 o'clock and just kind of see how the start goes.
Yeah, Riddick and Wallstead, not exactly, goaltenders were fully trusting at the moment. Obviously, Riddick, it goes without saying. Wallstead's supposed to be, a chance to be a really good goalie at this level, but we're still waiting on consistency from him. Still very young, still has not really gotten all that much playing time at the NHL. It's too soon to really write the career resume here on Wallstedt, but still, like I said, you just got to give him a little bit more time. We'll see how it plays out. For me, as far as props, I would go Johansson for Minnesota. Great value, still on the top line. He's on a 7-game point streak for them. And Emil Heineman is on the Islander top line still. Horvat's been good. Matthew Schaefer to get an assist or a point has been almost automatic how good he has been. Speaking of how good Matthew Schaefer's been on the ice, how great was that little TNT interview moment when he's basically throwing shade and chirping Henrik Lundqvist, saying, I'd rather have the Long Island native Liam McHugh ask me the first question, not some New York fucking Ranger. Yeah, that kid, man, he's got some fucking pizzazz and personality and a little life and energy. And
nice.
Man, I would push him to the moon if I'm the NHL marketing folks. I mean, my goodness. Not only looks like, in his early stages here, he's going to be one hell of a defenseman, but, we've been crying out for a little bit of a personality from some of these NHL superstars. And looks like we might be getting some of that from Matthew Schaefer.
And what's the irony too? He's calling out the guy that the league should have been pushing in the 15 years that he played with Hendrik Lundqvist. But certainly, like I said, that was fun to see, and like I said, nice to see a little bit of life and spark from some of these kids when they're doing these interviews.
Yeah, no doubt. That was good. That was good, and it's not surprising because he was on with Whitney and Biz on the Spit and Chicklets earlier this year, and that was one of the better, funnier interviews with a current NHL player they've done. That's just his personality, and it's great to see for a change, no doubt. All right, Chicago, Calgary, Flames minus 155, home favorite, 6 the total. My goodness, 5-1 Calgary. They beat Columbus. They clearly were amped up for Nazem Kadri's big 1,000th game night. But boy, I think one of the big stories is not only did they finally find some offense, and 5 goals is kind of like an outburst this year with the way they've struggled to score at times, but what's really something that you're really optimistic about for Calgary is hungry like the wolf. Dustin Wolf, that was a clinic. That was Dustin Wolf that we know. 42 saves in victory for the Calgary Flames over the Columbus Blue Jackets. It was a tremendous performance from him. Is he back? Has he gotten his game back? Will it continue tonight? He will be in net here for Calgary in this game. Spencer Knight is likely to start. It's pretty much going to be him for the Chicago Blackhawks. I guess there was just some doubt. Maybe it wouldn't be, but I don't know how you don't start him with how terrific he was against the Vancouver Canucks the other night. But it's a great goaltending matchup. 2 good young American goaltenders who are unfortunately, as far as making it to the Olympics or 4 nations, you're stuck behind the likes of Hellebuck and Ottinger. And like there's tons of depth for USA goaltending right now. But Spencer Knight and Dustin Wolf, might be heard from on an American national team down the road. That's certainly what their ceiling is, both of them. And what I've seen from Knight has been phenomenal. And what I've seen, obviously, from Wolf, for the most part, has been strong. Obviously, a little bit of a tough start to the year, rough patch to begin this season. But that was the Dustin Wolf on top of his game the other night against Columbus. We'll see if he can keep that going here tonight. Obviously, with these 2 goalies and total being at 6, I would lean under. It's got the potential to be one of these goalie battles. Again, now I know Calgary, we've seen a couple games go over. We saw obviously a 5-1 game with Columbus. I think this could be back to a little bit more of that, lower paced game. Let's not forget at home, the Calgary Flames, we've seen games where they lose 2-1 to Winnipeg, 2-1 to Montreal early in the season where, they were struggling to score goals. They're still only 2-4, by the way, at the Saddle Dome. I also think Chicago is worth a shot at this price. If I'm the Blackhawks, plus 135. First of all, I think Calgary, wow, minus 155. We're getting back to that price range where, I'm very interested anytime. Doesn't matter who they're playing. I'm interested fading Calgary when they're a minus 155 favorite like this. But with your Chicago, you lost the first 3 of the road trip. You finally won a game against Vancouver. There's a big difference between going home at 1-4 on the road trip versus going home 2-3 on the road trip. It's a big difference. And 2 wins in a row to end the road trip, it would be for the Blackhawks if they win tonight. So I think with Knight in goal, with certainly emphasis to try to put 2 wins in a row together to wrap up the road trip and make it a respectable one. And let's not forget, Chicago, the last few games, they've had their opportunities. Remember, the Edmonton game was there for the taking. They could have won that game. They've really only played 1 subpar game on this road trip. That was the Winnipeg game. The Edmonton game, that was there for the taking. They ended up losing in overtime in that one. The Seattle game, I thought they outplayed Seattle. They ran into Decord on a pretty good night, couldn't finish their chances. And then, of course, Vancouver. They did get outshot heavily, 45-28, but they were good in the first. They were good in the third. They had a really rough second period, but Knight bailed them out. Still, they ended up winning that game. They've had 1 really bad 3-period effort on this road trip, just 1, and that was Winnipeg. Other than that, they've had instances. The Seattle game was winnable. The Edmonton game was winnable. And I think this game is going to be winnable. And at plus 135, that's all I need. Count me in. Alex, what do you think here? Chicago, Calgary.
Yeah, this line's crazy. The Calgary should not be minus 150, minus 155. Yes, Dustin Wolf looked fantastic. Looked like I said, A-level Dustin Wolf. But that doesn't mean this whole team's all of a sudden now back on the rise. And damn sure not with, like I said, the way that the Hawks have played and battled through this road trip, despite the record being 1-3. this is a big time spot. And you said it even after that game ended, that this is a spot where they have to roll over and continue what they did in their last game against Vancouver here with Calgary. And I think they will do just that. So I got plus 135 for this. And I also have a couple of bargain bin plays, everything tied around table time, table Terrebonne.
All right, good stuff indeed. Yeah, they're 1-2 as favorites this year. They've only been favored 3 times, and the slightest of favorites. They were like minus 105 or minus 108 in one that they lost. They were, minus 112 in another that they lost. The only one they won as a favorite this year, Calgary, was their last game against Columbus, and this is by far the biggest favorite they've been all season here tonight against Chicago. Not a price range I trust them in. Matt, what do you think here, Chicago, Calgary?
Yeah, this is an interesting game for me. I do agree. I think, Calgary, I think, is a little bit heavy here. I know they've showed some momentum. Wolf's been playing well. They've started scoring some goals the last couple games, but I just think minus 155 is pretty wild. This is another one where I like the totals the first period in the full game, but I could see this game being like 2-1 and midway through the third period, and then a team gets an empty net goal and we get a 3-1 finish. So don't have a lot here. I would lean Blackhawks if I was going to take a bet, because I think the value is there, and I think it's very possible for them to go into Calgary and get 2 points tonight. So I may look at like splitting Chicago money line and maybe a team total over 2.5, just on the off chance we get a weird like 3-3 game and then Calgary wins in overtime or something. You at least split the bet. But yeah, that'd probably be the way I'd look at this one. But nothing really like sticks out to me that I'm really excited about pregame.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that. But like I said, I just think at this price it's worth it. I'm even seeing minus 160 here with Calgary in some places. So yeah, this is just it's just Chicago at this price.
Did they improve their blue line and we didn't know about it? Did they make some kind of deal or something? No,
did they?
It's still the same 6 red traffic cones in front of Wolf, right?
Right.
Okay.
And plus now the urgency level's off for Calgary. They've won their 2 games in a row. And the one thing we know about, mediocre to bad teams is we don't expect them to win more than 2-3 games in a row at a time. And I think that's what you're going to get from Calgary here tonight. Has Calgary won 3 in a row yet this year? No, they have not. I'm just looking at it right now. They actually won 1 against Edmonton to begin the year. Then they had that very long losing streak where they lost, 8 in a row. Then they beat the Rangers. Then they lost 3 in a row. And then they won 2 in a row. So this is not a team we expect to go on lengthy win streaks, the Calgary Flames. Let's put it that way. As far as props tonight in this game, I'd be interested here. And like I said, Farabee's on the top line. There's value in that regard for Chicago. Burakovsky, talked about him, being on the top line, undervalued. I'd probably look toward him. Bertuzzi had the hat trick against Vancouver. We'll see if he can, if that was just a one-off, that kind of offensive outburst, or he can keep it rolling. But I would probably say Burakovsky for Chicago and Farabee for Calgary as far as the value for the player props that I'm interested in here in this game. All right, our finale for Friday night, Winnipeg and San Jose. We've got the Jets minus 190. Road favorites, 6.5 the total in this game. San Jose was on the card, I believe, for me and Alex the other night against Seattle. They get the big win as massive underdogs in that game, 6-1. Don't look now, the Sharks have won 3 of their last 4. 5-2 home win against Jersey, 3-2 overtime win against Colorado. Detroit got to a shootout, 3-2. And, of course, they had the 6-1 victory in Seattle in their last game. Problem is they're getting the Winnipeg Jets here off getting shut out and blanked by the LA Kings 3-0 in their last game. They'll be looking to bounce back. That was the first road loss of the season for the Winnipeg Jets as well. They're off a shutout loss. They'll be looking to bounce back here in this game. You look at San Jose, 6-1 win against Seattle. They are playing a little bit better defensive hockey. There's no question about that. The last few games, 1 goal allowed to Seattle. The 3 albeit really 2 goals because it was a shootout victory in that one for Detroit. 2 goals allowed to Colorado, 2 goals allowed to New Jersey. So you do have to give the Sharks D a little bit of credit. They've obviously been, it's not a great blue line. It's not got a ton of quality depth. They're without Nick Leddy still on that blue line, but they've made do with what they've got. And they've obviously got Klingberg and Liljegren were banged up. They're both back. Michael Misa and William Eklund remain out, it looks like, for the San Jose Sharks. Looks like William Eklund actually still might play tonight. They haven't totally ruled him out yet, but we'll see if he's able to find the back of the net. This is one of those games where, at the moment, I'm waiting on the Winnipeg starting goaltender confirmation. This feels like this could be a game that Eric Comrie gets in for the Winnipeg Jets. I'm not saying for sure, but maybe Scott Arniel's going to look at it like, well, we got blanked by LA 3-0. Let's get back on track. Let's put Helly in there tonight, Connor Hellebuck, for this game. That is something we'll have to wait on as far as that's concerned. It is worth noting, too, that for the Winnipeg Jets, they actually don't play tomorrow night. So if it's back-to-back is the reason that he would put Comrie in tonight, there's no need because Winnipeg doesn't play tomorrow. So, but I would wait on that. Nedeljkovic is in net for San Jose. That is confirmed. And for Nedeljkovic, it's I think the pressure's on him a little bit tonight, Alex Nedeljkovic, because for a long part of the season he's been going back and forth as far as platooning with Yaroslav Askarov. But you look now, Askarov was in net for when they beat Colorado, and Askarov was in net when they pummeled Seattle 6-1 in their last game. So San Jose's won the last two starts made by Yaroslav Askarov. So I think now there's a little bit more game pressure, if you will, on Alex Nedeljkovic after they've won back-to-back starts made by Askarov, the young goalie. So interesting game. I probably could talk myself into Jets team total. That does kind of make some sense to me here in this game. The Jets off a loss and a shutout loss. You'd expect offense to kind of take more of a focus here. They've won 5 straight games versus the San Jose Sharks, this Winnipeg Jets team. We'll see if that continues here. In their one visit in San Jose last year, they were victorious 4-3 over the San Jose Sharks. So we'll see. That's kind of where I'm at here. I might, if it's Comrie, full game over, maybe. But at the moment right now with the Winnipeg Jets, the 3.5 at -110 with their team total does interest me. Alex, what do you think here? Winnipeg, San Jose.
Yeah, so Mitchell Clinton, who's one of the color analysts for the Jets, he tweeted out the line rushes, and it seemed like it could be a Hellebuck start. We don't have official confirmation, but it seems to be leaning toward Hellebuck. So like I said, that changes things drastically, I think, for everybody, because I was looking to back San Jose here if it was a Comrie start. But now with if it's potentially Hellebuck, this will probably be one I wait for and bet live. So, like I said, definitely check and follow me on Twitter, because as soon as I find out, I will make sure to retweet it at AX Smith Sports. But we'll try and also post that too on Patreon as well. Let everybody know who's going to be starting for the Jets. But like I said, it'll dictate depending on who's starting.
Yeah, and sir, I'm with you on the, just conceptually with San Jose. In certain spots and at prices like these, there are going to be times I'm going to want to back San Jose. Hell, there's been times I've done it recently already, a couple times the last week, and it's paid off, including the Seattle game, albeit that game was on the road. I just don't know if I want to step in front of Winnipeg after getting shut out in their last game. And we know Winnipeg off a loss going back to the start of last year. They've been phenomenal in these situations off a loss. We'll see if they can show that ability off a loss to bounce back once again here tonight. Matt, what do you think here, Winnipeg, San Jose?
Yeah, I'm not gonna go against Winnipeg after a loss. I got burned by them Tuesday night. I felt like that was a good spot for them to get a road win, and it obviously didn't happen. But yeah, the one thing I do think, Winnipeg's obviously they've slowed down a little bit. At a time, they were the top goals per game average in the league. I think they're like 8 now. Obviously, a shutout doesn't help that. Excuse me. So I think, I expect them to come out and want to score some goals. And this Sharks team, whether they win or lose this game, I think, it doesn't matter if it's Hellebuck or Comrie. I think they have the ability to score a couple goals and, keep this interesting, especially at home. So for me, I think it's going to be a first period full game, same game parlay look, just given that it's a 6.5 total. And then I also am going to look live to maybe double down a little bit, get a better price on the first period, maybe get the full game at 5.5 just as a solo bet. So I might be doing that. And then it's not going to be my bargain bin. So there is one prop in this game that I like. he's got 3 goals in the last 5 games. It is bargain bin material. I just have a couple other that I like a little bit more, but I'm going to take a shot with Will Smith anytime goal tonight. It's plus 310. I just think, 3 in the last 5 games. I think that line, him and Celebrini are just making shit happen. So at that price, I think you don't get a lot of first liners on, streaks where they've scored in the last game and 3 of their last 5 at plus 310. So I'm going to take a shot with Will Smith anytime goal as well.
Yeah, that's a prop I like too. I like Will Smith tonight. The price, he's on the top line, scored in the last game for the San Jose Sharks.
On the first power play as well, so gets a lot of looks.
I'm going to dabble too, just because the price is like plus 700 in some spots. This guy has only played 2 games with the Sharks since he's been inserted in the lineup, and he scored against Seattle. Ethan Cardwell. He's on the third line for them, and he ended up getting on the board against Seattle in the last game. So, plus 700, not bad as far as, a price there. It was someone that's going to come into this game now with a little bit of confidence. By the way, for Will Smith, 2-game point streak for him as well, entering tonight's game. And we'll give Phil Kurashev another roll of the dice here. If he doesn't score, then we'll put an end to that pretty quickly here as far as that's concerned. Vladislav Nemesnikov, says Perlo. I don't mind that. Vladislav Nemesnikov with Jonathan Taves and Alex Iafallo right now is the current makeup of the Winnipeg second line. So not bad for value purposes to look toward Vlad Nemesnikov for the Winnipeg Jets there in that game tonight. All right, great stuff. Actually, you know what? It's Friday. Matt Robinson's always with us on Fridays. And before we get to best bets and bargain bin special of the night on a Friday show, we give Matt the opportunity and the floor to talk about anything that he's looking ahead to for Saturday's big NHL slate. Is there any game or two that you're already eyeing for Saturday?
Yeah, I think there's a couple looks. Obviously I'm always sort of looking at Dallas. I'm seeing the Dallas Preds game at over 5.5. I just think a 5.5 with Dallas right now, I think, last night showed their offense is, starting to click a little bit, getting Rupe Hintz back. That game, I may be looking at a Stars team total as well.
I was going to say, can Nashville help you out on that one is the question. Yeah. And you got to think Ottinger, if he starts, is going to be a little ticked after giving up 7.
Yeah, I just think that even, they just aren't playing super tight defensively as a team. I think, any team can put a couple goals into Dallas on any given night. And Dallas historically has played pretty well in Nashville. I know we had the crazy 18 bets in one game hit or whatever it was last year on the betcast when I think they won 8-2, and I had 9 bets hit in the first period with goal props and all that shit. So that if you can get in at 5.5, which I think it'll stay at 5.5 throughout today, and then it'll probably get up to 6 tomorrow. That's definitely something I like. On the early game in that Pittsburgh, New Jersey game, I kind of feel like that could be an over type of game as well. I don't think anyone had Pittsburgh on their bingo card being in the top 5 in the league, 15 games in. So they're obviously off to a hot start, and New Jersey can pop in 4 or 5 goals on any given night, especially when Jack Hughes is healthy. I haven't looked too deep. I've got the New York game circled. I think those are always interesting games. And I think, historically it's been okay, maybe I won't take the over because the Islanders are involved. Now, of course, it's New York at home on a back-to-back. So, question mark there on if I take anything, but it's definitely a game I'm interested in. And if, we can get a 5.5 live, I think, with New York, anytime I can get a 5.5 or even a 6, I'm usually taking a shot with it, just with the Islanders, how they've been so far this year. And then for the late slate, there's honestly these last 4 games, I kind of would lean over in all of them, maybe with the exception of the Columbus Vancouver game. But, Avs and Oilers could be a good track meet. You've got some superstars on both ends. I think Golden Knights, Anaheim will be a slam dunk first period over for me. That might be a potential best bet opportunity, just given Vegas at home, that first period angle, and then how good are the fucking Ducks right now offensively. So I think that's a game where I'll be on first period and full game, maybe a same game parlay, maybe team totals. I just feel like that game has potential to have 8 or 9 goals in it. And then, you get a little Florida Sharks at the end of the night. And it'll probably factor in how tonight's game goes against Winnipeg to see, if tonight's game's a little lower and slow, then maybe I'll think about throwing a shot on the over in that late game just because I think things will open up. Where, if tonight's Winnipeg San Jose game is 6-5 in overtime somehow, then maybe I just stay off that game tomorrow because maybe things slow down a bit in San Jose on the back-to-back. But yeah, overall, I think that Ducks Vegas game is probably the biggest game I'm circling as far as overs. We'll see Islanders Rangers. We'll see kind of how the Rangers play tonight. And I guess the Islanders too, for that matter. I guess I didn't even make that connection that both those teams will be on back-to-back. So I don't know. Do you guys have any sort of past data on when both teams are on a back-to-back? If there's any sort of trends or anything like that tends to happen?
Case by case is what I would say.
Yeah, and I tend to look at those things a little bit more in the second half of the season. Like I said, we're still fairly early. Yeah, we're still fairly early, so a lot of back-to-back data. I kind of just it's not the
we haven't collected a ton yet for a lot of teams.
Need more.
There's some teams that have had one or two back-to-backs so far. And I don't like going back years and saying, applying years that last year and 2 years ago back-to-back data to this year. These are new players. It's not the same roster. And a lot of the cases, new coaches too. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess for New York, for the Islanders, I keep saying New York like they're not both fucking New York, but at least for the Islanders, they're just going across town and then, Detroit to New York on a, chartered flight's not super bearing for those guys. So, and, with the start times being relatively the same, I don't think it should be a huge factor for the Rangers to have to play back-to-back. So we'll see about that game. But, yeah, I'd say off the hop, 3 favorites for tomorrow, New Jersey, Pittsburgh, first period full game overs looks, maybe a Dallas Preds over 5.5 and potentially a Dallas Stars team total. And then the big one will be Vegas, Anaheim, first period over, full game over. I don't care if it's 6.5. I'll be on that game for sure.
I'm a little bit miffed Vegas because I thought after the first period and they were up 2-0 at the time. I'm like, Vegas is going to maybe roll Tampa here and then roll into Saturday. And here's the red hot Ducks ready to pounce on Vegas, who's now going to be feeling good after beating Tampa Bay. But instead they ended up coughing up the lead 6-3. So I'm worried Anaheim's going to have Vegas's attention. But at the same point in time, you guys already know what I'll be doing in that game tomorrow. You don't even have to wait for the show. With Anaheim and Vegas.
Before we go to
Montreal, the best draw team in the NHL right now. So there you go.
I was just going to say, before we go to our ads and everything, I just want to recommend to everyone in the chat talking about goaltenders to please download, it's completely free, the Goalie Post app. And that collects all the data from Twitter and will let you know in real time who's starting and who's projected.
Yeah, exactly. Again, RotoWire is always delayed. I would second that. Goalie Post and Daily Faceoff too. They're right on it. Yeah, both of them. Those are the premier starting goalie. Like they're prompt. It's almost right away. There's not much delay. And yeah, those are the 2 best spots.
I'll bring it back this weekend on Patreon.com. The list of bookmarks you should have saved. If you're an NHL bettor, we'll have everything compiled and that'll be up by tomorrow over there on patreon.com/icecat.
No doubt. All right, good stuff. Check out wizardsportspicks.com. Of course, we're all there, all 3 of us, me, Alex, Matt, with daily premium picks, all sports, all on pretty good runs overall at wizardsportspicks.com. Already profitable in the first week of college basketball, me as well. So a good run in the NHL. 13-7 is the run right now in the NHL on the website. Obviously, NFL, college football have been profitable, been really good. So make sure you check it all out. Single game premium picks and combo packages available at wizardsportspicks.com. And also check us out on the Beyond the Lines videos that we're doing daily. Matt's doing them. I'm doing them. Alex might get involved in them too. So check it out, wizardsportspicks.com. And the YouTube channel as well. And check out patreon.com/iceguys, just $10 per month. Great response from everybody. Goalie charts, totals charts, all bonus content, everything, daily betting cards, sides, totals, player props posted each and every day on the Patreon page. It was a pretty good night with the card last night overall. So make sure you get on board. And make sure you get on board soon, because we are going to have our first November first of the season Patreon exclusive Ice Guys Live Betcast for the month of November. We will announce that Betcast the day of. We're going to spring it on people. So there you go, on our Patreon members. So again, excited about that. Patreon.com/Ice Guys. And again, your subscription goes a long way to supporting the show and keeping us going. So again, $10 per month. Get on board at patreon.com/Ice Guys. Up. You muted, Mike, Alex. There we go. Oh, no, it's actually you're up. There you go. You're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. IceGuys.myspreadshop.com. Check out the Ice Guys store. We've got some new merch items in there. We're going to add a couple more new things, too, coming up over the next week or so. So definitely want to check that out. We've got all the classics as well. Hoodies, caps, winter hats, T-shirts, mugs, you name it. We got it. Check it on out at the Ice Guys store. That's IceGuys.myspreadshop.com.
All right. Bargain bin special of the night and best bets coming up right after we hear from our great Ice Guys sponsors.
Wizard Sports Picks, featuring the finest handicappers in the universe. Sharp insights, trusted picks, and relentless results. We strive to help you become consistent winners. This is Wizard Sports Picks.
Kings and queens shop.
All right, check out all our sponsors, including Royal Cannabis, royalcannabisshop.com, 20% off with promo code IceGuys. All right, bargain bin special of the night. We had another night where at least one of us came in with a bargain bin special of the night casher. It was Alex with Brad Marchand, over 1.5 points at plus 400 last night. Alex, where are you going for Friday's bargain bin special?
Let's head on up to Calgary. You got the Blackhawks skating in the town, and like I said, there's two I like involving Teuvo. Teuvo time. Teuvo Teravainen. I like him anytime goal scorer. You can grab that at plus 380 at FanDuel, and you can also get 2 points at 5-1. Both of those at FanDuel. So like Teuvo Teravainen anytime goal plus 380, and him to get 2 or more points in the contest at plus 500. Those are my two bargain bin specials for this Friday.
There you go. Double up on Teuvo. It's Teuvo time. Teuvo Teravainen goal and over 1.5 points, both at plus prices that are bargain bin worthy. Matt, bargain bin special.
Yeah, sorry. I had it right here. Okay. So for my bargain bin, I've also got 2 plays tonight, despite the shorter card. Obviously, less looks maybe than a normal night, so I feel like 2 bargain bins is worthy. I obviously mentioned Will Smith. That's not one of my plays, but it is bargain bin material. I do like Will Smith anytime goal. Actually going with a couple other right wingers here. So in that Rangers-Detroit game off the hop, give me Taylor Radish anytime goal. He's got 5 goals this year. He's playing on the top line. I'm seeing him as high as plus 415, 420, something in that range. Just feel like there's a lot of value there for a guy that's getting first line minutes. He's on the second power play. So Taylor Radish to score tonight in that Rangers-Detroit game. And then the other play is going to be in that Minnesota Islanders game. There's a player making his return tonight, first game of the year for the Wild, Matt Zuccarello. I'm seeing him at like plus 340 to pocket one. He's obviously a guy they miss. It looks like he's going to play with Kaprizov on that top line. So He's definitely, it'll take some shifts to get the rust off, but he's a guy that he's a veteran player. He's scored a lot of goals in his career. So I'd look for him to maybe pocket one tonight. I think he's going to slide in on the second power play unit, but get first line minutes. So Matt Zuccarello, anytime goal, and Taylor Radish for the Rangers, anytime goal. Those will be my 2 bargain bins.
All right, there we go. Matt Zuccarello for Minnesota, Taylor Radish for the New York Rangers. 2 bargain bin specials for Matt Robinson. And I'm going to go back to the well with someone I've cashed a bargain bin special with already this season. I think at home here tonight against a Minnesota team on a back-to-back, there's a good chance he finds the back of the net. Still up on the top unit with Bo Horvat and with Matt Barzal. And that's Emil Heineman. We're going back to the Emil Heineman train here for the New York Islanders at plus 375. So Emil Heineman, just one tonight for me. Emil Heineman, New York Islanders, plus 375 for my bargain bin special of the night. All right, best bets for this Friday. Alex, what do you like for best bet?
Like I said, these are 2 teams going in opposite directions, and I have no idea why it's lined this way. Even the Chicago Blackhawks at plus 135. Calgary does not deserve to be a favorite, even though it's Dustin Wolf in net. They still got the 6 red traffic cones in front of them, and I think the Hawks are going to get some goals here tonight and continue that win streak and continue that momentum from the Vancouver game. So give me the Chicago Blackhawks on the money line. My Friday best bet.
All right, Chicago money line for Alex B. Smith with best bet. Matt, what do you got for best bet?
Yeah, for me, I mentioned, this isn't like some of our Tuesday or Thursday cards where there's something that flies off the radar right off the hop. But I do think 2 teams coming off a shutout. I'm going to take a shot with New York, the New York Rangers and Detroit Red Wings over 5.5. Again, I think, both teams have been sort of inconsistent at times. Both teams haven't been, scoring 7-8 goals a night. By any stretch, but I do think, it's 2 teams that coming off a shutout loss that will want to get goals early and often. So I think we have no problem getting to 6. So give me the Rangers, Detroit over 5.5. That'll be my best bet.
All right, there you go. New York Rangers, Detroit Red Wings over 5.5, minus 140. I believe looks like the best price with that for Matt Robinson with his best bet for this Friday NHL slate. My best bet for this Friday slate, like I said, it's slim pickings. It's not, like I said, for me, it's a card I'd like but don't love anything. I'm actually going to go with Matt here on this one. It's the best of a mediocre slate of bets for me tonight on this. Everything is small tonight, so you're picking something you like but don't love, regardless of what it is. And this is the epitome of like but don't love it. Considering that the Rangers in particular are not an easy team to trust offensively. But I'm going to buy into this, both teams off the shutout, that they push for offense. Total's only 5.5. We'll take a shot with it. So I will join Matt with my best bet also being New York Rangers, Detroit over 5.5. Minus 130 is actually the best price out there with it. Rangers, Red Wings over 5.5, minus 130. For my best bet here for this Friday NHL card. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Hit the like button on the way out. Just, you're not going to notice anything different tomorrow other than the Saturday show will be me flying solo. But it will be a pre-recorded show, but it'll be posted for noon Eastern. You'll have it by then, and you'll be able to watch it at your convenience. We've got to do a pre-recorded production tomorrow because I'm off to the Ticats CFL East Final against the Montreal Alouettes, and it's an early afternoon game tomorrow at the stadium, so I've got to leave early for that. Alex will have any bets that he's locked in for Saturday before I record. He'll send them to me, and I'll mention them when I record the show tomorrow, so make sure you check that out. But Ian Cameron, solo mission for the Saturday edition of the Ice Guys show tomorrow, and then, of course, live, we will be back Sunday at noon Eastern time, so make sure you check that out. A reminder, the Ice Guys is live 7 days a week, Monday to Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern, Saturday and Sunday, noon Eastern. If you can't watch the show live, download the Ice Guys podcast in audio form on all major podcast platforms, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and more. Download the Ice Guys podcast when you can't watch the show live. For Alex B. Smith and Matt Robinson, I'm Ian Cameron. Oh, my gosh. Well wishes to Grant. Apparently, accident.
Saw in the chat. Yeah, hope all's well, man.
All I can say is get well soon. Thoughts, prayers, well wishes, and man, we appreciate you so much. You had something like that happen to you, and you're still tuning into dopes like us. So I appreciate that very much. But Godspeed. Get well, my friend. That's a wrap. Enjoy the Friday night, and good luck. And we will be back tomorrow on Saturday for another edition of the Ice Guys.